as specified in Article 19 as printed in the warrant, and that any fees collected be deposited into said fund and expended to meet the program's expenses.
Mr. Murphy, does the Finance Committee have a recommendation? Mr. Massachusetts.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends.
Does the Board of Selectmen have a recommendation, Mr. Murphy?
Mr. Moderator, the Board of Selectmen recommends.
Okay, is there any discussion? Mr. Pasquale.
I'm a little confused. I realize it's only $2,000. I'm not against the $2,000. But what specifically are we doing? Is this to promulgate the recycling center activities that we used to have down in DPW? Or is it to buy the green collection buckets that we got on the curbside?
Just a moment, Mr. O'Hanlon. Please wait until you're recognized by the chair before you respond. Mr. O'Hanlon, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you. The latter. It's to purchase the recycling bins and the compost bins. That's still a function that we provide.
Wait a minute. When you say recycling bins, is it the green?
Yes.
Or is it the big containers over behind the DPW? The big steel? No.
It's the green recycling bins and those compost bins that we also provide as well.
Now, originally, didn't we get these green bins for nothing?
Yes, we did.
Now, why are you going to charge me?
If you want another one, you're going to pay for it.
If you want another one, you have to pay.
Right.
Is this what this 2,000?
That's correct.
Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Since the motion goes beyond the article, the chair will read it. It doesn't take that long. It's moved to reauthorize the recycling promotion revolving account originally authorized under Article 12 of the April 1995 town meeting in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, and to set the maximum expenditure for fiscal 2004 at $2,000 as specified in Article 19 as printed in the warrant, and that any fees collected be deposited into said fund and expended to meet the program's expenses. On the motion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Article 20.
Mr. Moderator, I move to reauthorize the Damon Tavern revolving account originally authorized under Article 17 of the April 2002 town meeting, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, and to set the maximum expenditure for FY 2004 at $24,000, as specified in Article 20 as printed in the warrant, and that any fees collected be deposited into said fund and expended to meet the program's expenses.
Mr. Murphy, does the Finance Committee have a recommendation? Mr. Mastascusa.
The Finance Committee is recommending this article.
Does the Board of Selectmen have a recommendation, Mr. Murphy?
Board of Selectmen recommend.
Is there any further discussion? Once again, because of the variance, let me read it. Move to reauthorize the Damon Tavern revolving account originally authorized under Article 17 of the April 2002 town meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half. It's always the same one. And to set the maximum expenditure for fiscal 2004 at $24,000 as specified in Article 20 as printed in the warrant, and that any fees collected be deposited into said fund and expended to meet the program's expenses. You've heard the motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Article 21. Mr. Murphy.
Mr. Moderator, I move to transfer the sum of $210,000 from cell tower revenue and $46,645 to the FY. Excuse me, one moment. Moderator, I move to transfer the sum of $210,000 from cell tower revenue and $46,645 from overlay surplus to the FY03 snow and ice deficit as specified in Article 21 as printed in the warrant.
You have heard the motion. Does the Finance Committee have a recommendation? Mr. Sturdivant.
Mr. Moderator, the Finance Committee recommends, and just for a point of clarification, that there is also another $125,000 included to fund the snow and ice deficit, which comes directly off the top of next year's operating budget.
Does the Board of Selectmen have a recommendation? Mr. Murphy.
Moderator, the Board of Selectmen recommends.
Thank you. Mr. Bosseri, please state your name and address.
Bob Bosseri, 11 System Drive. This is a departure from what we've done in the past, where we allowed in the reconciliation of the tax rate the coming year for those funds to be deducted as part of setting the tax rate. What's the difference? Why are we doing it this way now?
Mainly it's due to the severe excess that it is, and we just can't afford it. We're taking every source of funds that we have available to cover these things so that we can keep the operating budget as full as possible.
Any further discussion? The motion is to transfer the sum of $210,000 from cell tower revenue and $46,645 from overlay surplus to fiscal '03, that's the current year, snow and ice deficit as specified in Article 21 as printed in the warrant. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Article 22. Mr. Murphy.
Mr. Moderator, I move to pass over Article 22.
Motion is to pass over Article 22. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing over Article 22, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Article 23. Article 23 is the operating budget.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Pasquale, do you have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to just share an observation, please.
And we are really not supposed to share observations before the chair will allow you 1 minute to share your observation.
Approximately an hour ago, on Article 13, I took a head count from the vote. There was 192 citizens, which I commend. You came to town meeting. God bless you.
There were actually 228
But if you're watching, we're coming up to a $37 million budget and people are leaving. I know they got responsibilities, so that means the rest of the people in this room are going to make decisions. So I'm just looking at you. Stay, hang in here, because you're making a lot of decisions for the rest of the town. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pasquale. That was most appropriate, and the chair is very happy to have given you the time to share your observation with us. On the budget, Article 23. Does anybody rise for it? Mr. Murphy.
Mr. Moderator, before I make the motion, I'd ask the body's indulgence to make a quick presentation.
Okay, do we have a motion so that we can have a presentation after the motion is
Mr.
made?
Moderator, I move to raise and appropriate the sum set forth in the column headed sponsor recommended in the line items 1 through 105, including the transfers of funds as set forth in the warrant, totaling $36,676,009.
Heard the motion. Is there any discussion? Does the Finance Committee have a recommendation? Mr. Sturdivant.
Finance Committee recommends.
Thank you. Does the Board of Selectmen have a recommendation? Mr. Murphy?
The Board of Selectmen recommends.
Excuse me,
Okay,
Mr.
now,
Moderator.
Mr. Murphy, you have, how much time do you need for your presentation? Oh. So, what are we
Mr. Moderator,
facing?
the school committee would like to make a recommendation.
Oh, I'm sorry, the school committee would like to make a recommendation. Mrs. Fox?
The school committee recommends, this amount includes the school budget.
Okay. And you wish to make a presentation, and how much time do you expect this presentation to
5
take?
minutes or less.
Okay, 5 minutes is what you're allowed under the bylaw without the vote of the meeting. Go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
This was a difficult budget process. The school department went through their own budget process and came up with a budget. General government went through their budget process and came up with a budget. We then came together and put the budgets together. We built the budget differently this year. In years past, we always came up with revenue, and then we built a budget from that. So this was an entirely different process, and it actually worked out. I think that everyone, the school committee, the finance committee, and the board worked very hard to put together a budget that would live within our means to pay. And when we brought it all together, it did live within our means to pay. It's not perfect. It doesn't have all the priorities addressed that everyone wants. It doesn't have all of the needs that everyone asked to be fulfilled. But I believe it's within our ability to pay, and it makes sense for the community at this point in time, and it really sets the stage for the 05 budget process. The Board of Selectmen utilized a benchmarking process. So we went through a process, we surveyed 10 communities. We wanted to know what other communities did, what other communities expended for their budgets. Anything that stood out in that analysis was reviewed. We assigned liaisons to each department. So that was the first time ever. Every member of the Board of Selectmen had a series of budgets that they were responsible for, including reviewing the benchmarking information to make sure that the budget addressed the community's needs for services, and that it was in line with what we felt was a reasonable sample of other communities. We went through a process, and you saw tonight, we reviewed all the fees and approved changes as appropriate and made recommendations, obviously, to town meeting as appropriate. We reviewed new ideas for revenue generation, so we have looked at some new things, and we are continuing to look at that. We also, through the Division of Local Services, contracted with the Department of Revenue. They did a review of the financial management process that provided the board, and the Finance Committee received a copy as well. They provided us some very detailed information. We will be going through the process of reviewing that, and they make some specific recommendations that we'll take under consideration to, again, ensure the future fiscal health of the community. Just real briefly, Prop 2.5 at a glance. The levy limit, that's the maximum total local tax in a given year. And the levy limit can be increased annually by 2.5% plus the new growth. The new growth is calculated as the increase in assessed valuation due to new development multiplied by the tax rate. New growth in North Reading has been strong over years past, and it's beginning to slow. So why isn't Proposition 2.5 sufficient? Let's just look at some basic numbers. What's the 2.5% increase that we got in real estate tax revenue? That's $545,160. That's hard for me. I love to round everything. The FY04 budget impacts outside the town control. These aren't all of them, but these are some of the big ones. 12% reduction in state aid. We used the House 1 or Governor's, I did round that number, I couldn't resist. We used the House 1 or the Governor's budget to prepare this budget. It assumes a 12% reduction in state aid. The increase in employee benefit costs is $713,000. And the snow and ice deficit is at $312, and last I looked it wasn't snowing yet, so hopefully this might even hold, although it's a little higher than that from the weekend. So that those items alone, 3 items in the budget, totaling